Hello everyone, welcome to WPF Tutorials. In this part we are going to talk about the repeat button. So the repeat button, the biggest difference between a repeat button and a regular button. A repeat button fires the click event repeatedly as long as it's pressed. Whereas with click button, it fires once, even if it's pressed. So that's the biggest difference between the two. There are two important properties that come with the repeat button, and one of those is, I have it on the left here, delay. So delay specifies the time before it starts firing. An interval is the time between each firing. Okay. Having said that, let's start with our first example. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new stack panel to the right column. Set this to grid.column1, close this out, and let's create our first repeat button. Okay, I'm going to give it a name. Let's call this btn increase. Okay, and let's give it a content of increase, and let's do capitals. And font size of 22, and let's close this. Okay, and then let's add a text box. Let's get a font size, well, name, let's get a name. Let's call this TBX. And let's get a font size of 28, and text element center, and close this out. Actually, let's get a default text too. Say text 1. Let's set to 1. Okay, so that's our text box, that's our button. Okay, let's run this, make sure it builds and runs. It's in a little on the slow side today, so thanks for the patience. Okay, alright, so we have our button, our text box, and nothing is happening when we click the button yet. Okay, alright, so next we are going to attach a click event to our button. So let's go ahead and say click and create new event handler, and go to definition. Okay, so what we want to happen is when we press and hold the button, we want the numbers to increase, the number in the text box to increase. Okay, so first let's create a variable called num, and let's set this to int.parse, and let's get the tbx.text. Okay, pass that in. First we are converting to int, then let's say num plus equals 1, and then let's set the tbx back to tbx.text back to num to string. Okay, so this should increase the number when we press our repeat button. Let's run this and see what happens. So let's go ahead and press. There you have it. Okay, so that's repeat button. It keeps firing the event as long as the button is pressed. Alright, now let's check out the properties. So delay, let's set this to 3 seconds, which means 3000 in milliseconds. So this is going to, when we click the first time, it's going to fire once and then it's going to wait 3 seconds. Okay, let's try this out. So I'm going to hit click, so it fired it, and then it's waiting 3 seconds, and then it's going to start counting up. Okay, that's that delay between the first firing and the repeated firings. Okay, I'm going to set this back to 0. Now let's check out the interval. Whoopsie. This one is the time between each firing. Okay, so I'm going to set this to 1000, which means 1 second, and let's test this out. Okay, I'm going to click and hold it. There you go. So you have that 1 second delay between each firing of the event. Okay, so that's delay and interval. Okay, based on what we learned, we're going to create another example, and I'm going to try to create a simple time picker. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add a new grid here. Alright, I want to have 3 columns and 2 rows. So grid.column definitions, column definition 1, column definition 2, and column definition 3. And then I'm going to add 2 rows, row definitions, grid.row definitions. So add 2 rows, row definition 1, row definition 2. Okay. Before we start, actually, I'm going to show you where we have the repeat button in Visual Studio. See this scroll bars? Each one of these, they have repeat button at each end of them. So this one is a repeat button. They're just customized buttons. Just shows the arrow. But these are repeat buttons. If you press and hold it, it'll scroll up and down. So okay, anyway, back to our example. So I want to change the width. Let's say this middle one, I want the width to be twice as wide as the other two. So I think that's a good size between these two. Alright, okay. Alright, next I'm gonna add repeat buttons. Let's say this one is going, let's name this RPT plus. Actually no, RPT repeat. Well, let's call this BTN. Sure. BTN increase hour. Okay, and let's give a content of plus. Set the font size to 24. Alright, that's not bad. Okay, let's copy and paste this. Okay, that's going to be inside the second row. So grid that row, it's going to be 1. Column is going to be 0, but let's change the text to decrease. Well, instead of increase, we want this to be decrease. Okay, let's zoom this in a little bit. Alright, so we got increase, decrease right here. Then I'm going to copy this again, and this time I want this change to be, instead of hours, let's call this minutes. Same thing here, minutes, and let's change the columns and grade that columns and rows. So grade that column 2, and same thing here, grade that column 2 and grade that row 1. Okay, so we got two sets of increase and decreases. Get a conflict here. Let's get rid of this guy. Okay. All right. Next, I want to add a text box right here. So let's go ahead and create a text box. Let's give it a name. Let's call this TBX TimePicker. Okay, and let's get a font size of say 32 maybe, and let's get a foreground of blue, and let's place this in the second column and do a row span of 2. So grade dot column 1, grade dot row span of 2. Okay, and actually, you know what, text alignment, let's set the text alignment to center too. Okay. Alright, so now that we have the text box in place, let me get a initial value just to see how it looks. I think I'm going to increase the font size a little more. So let's go with 42. Alright, that's better. Alright, let's get rid of the text property. Now let's start with our buttons. So I'm going to start with this first button here. Okay, let's attach a click event. Alright, so click, new event handler, and let's go to definition. Okay. Alright, so with this we want to increase the value of the hour. Okay, this is the increase hour button. So first I'm going to create two variables of type int. Let's call the first one hour, and let's set this to datetime now dot hour, and the other one is going to be minute, min for short, datetime now dot minute. Okay, so that's going to get the integer value of hour and minute. Alright, so when we click the plus button, I want to increase the hour. Alright, so let's see. First, let's increase the hour plus plus, and then I don't know, sure, maybe we should get the actually, you know what, first I want to put the hour and minute inside the text box and then increase it, the current one. So the current one I want to say tbx timepicker.text equals, let's use string interpolation. So hour column minute. Okay, now next we are going to increase the value, and then we can say tbx TimePicker.text equals, well, we can just copy and paste this actually. Okay, all right, let's try this out, see if it works. Okay, so let's press the button. All right, we got the current time. All right, it's working, great. All right, a couple of things we need to fix. First, we want to place this inside an if statement. So Control KS, whoopsie. If our equals 23, actually this is going to be outside, not inside. Got a little problem here. Let's try again. Alright, that's going to be outside. Inside here, we want to set the hour to 0. So once the hour hits 24, it's going to set back to 0. Next, I want to actually adjust the speed of the increase. So I'm gonna go to my repeat button over here and set the interval to like 100. So it's not extremely fast. Let's hit the brakes a little bit. Okay, let's run this and test it out. Okay, so let's press the button. There you go. Right, so 12, 13, 14, okay, 23. Oops. Did we do something wrong? Maybe. 23 didn't go to 0. Should say 0, 0. Let's see why. Right, so we hit 23, it should go to 0 after that. Let's put a breakpoint right here. Show it right here. Oh, and then we are increasing it. Well, actually, maybe we shouldn't increase it. Or increase before we get there. So let's increase right after the first time picker where we set it. And let's try this one more time. Okay. Right now it's let's see, 0, because over here, well, we won't know at this point. So okay, 20 right now. Time is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 22. Okay, we got the 0, but there's a slight problem. Let's change this to 24. So we're setting the time here first to get the minute and hour. Maybe I should set the minute and hour in the constructor. Probably that's a better idea. Let's try this. This way we don't have to worry about. And then increase it. Let's try this way. So we are increasing before checking if it's 24 or not. This kind of doesn't make sense, does it? Let's try it but I'm not sure. So 23, 24 goes to 0, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Let's keep going. 23, 20. Perfect. That's actually working. All right. That's good. Actually, let's format the hour too, so we have 0, 0 instead of just 0. So I'm gonna make that, let's format the minutes too while we are here. So we need 2 digits at all times. Same thing here. Okay. Alright, so that should take care of the formatting. (23, 24, 00), perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Alright, perfect. 23, 0, 0. Okay. Alright, so we increase is fine. Let's do the opposite for decrease. So double click. What did I do? Change the margin. That's not right. Let's add manually. Okay, let's go to code behind. Alright, so here I'm just gonna copy and paste this and do the opposite. So instead of plus plus, we want minus minus, and here when it hits 0 we want it to be 23. Okay, I think that's it. Let's try this out. So minus, just went too fast. So 123. Skipped 0. So instead of 0, maybe do -1, or let's try this one. So let's keep going back. Alright, I think that was it. So 1, 0, 23, perfect. Alright, so that's working. Alright, let's do the same thing with the minutes. I think that's all we have to do is change the hours to minutes, so that shouldn't be too hard. Okay, let's add a click event to these repeat buttons. So this is increase. So I'm gonna just copy this portion, paste right here, and then change the hour to minute. Same thing here. Well, no, well, it's not the same thing because now we are talking about 60 minutes instead of versus 24 hours. So let's fix that. Okay, that should be it. Let's try this out. Alright, so let's try plus, okay, 5900, that's good. Alright, let's actually change the speed also on both of these. We didn't change the speed on these two, so let's change the speed to interval to 100 for both. Let's copy and paste from here and here and below here. So okay, we got all. Let's actually do the same thing for the last button so we don't have to remember. Alright, so we took care of all the intervals. Okay, we have one last button to go. So let's double click that one. And let's copy and paste from here. And again, instead of minutes, we are talking, hours, we are talking about minutes now. So let's change this to minutes. And let's change the value over here to 59. Let's try this out. Alright, so 0, 59, perfect, 58, keep going. 15, 5, 4, 0, 59, perfect. So now the speed is same for all of them. So I set all intervals to 100, so it doesn't matter which button you press, you get the same speed. Again, you can increase, decrease based on your requirement, but I think 100 works fine for TimePicker. Not too fast, not too slow. Okay. All right, perfect. Okay. I think that's the genesis of the repeat button. You get the basic idea, what it does, how it works, the most common properties. Let's see. Let me actually draw a think. Let's do one more example. Okay. And let's call it a day. Alright, so I'm gonna add another repeat button. Let's get a name. Let's call this BTN increase. Do I use increase already? First one, where is the first one? Should have been somewhere here. Yeah, I already used that, so let's use something else. Let's use expand. Okay. And let's get a content of expand. And let's get a font size of 24. Seems to be a good size. Close this out. And oops, that shouldn't supposed to be there. That's not supposed to be there. Should have been outside the grid. Alright. And then let's add a ellipse. Or we can draw a line. Let's draw a line. So line. Let's get a name. Let's call this my line. And let's get it x1 of where's my x1? There you go. Let's get 1 and let's get a stroke of red. Do I need a fill? Maybe. Let's try blue. Okay. Alright, so with this one, when I press the red button, I want to increase the size of the line. So let's add a click event handler to the button. Okay, alright, so let's see. What I want to happen is my line. Let's grab that. Dot x2 plus equals 1. Let's go with 2. 1 is probably too slow. Let's try this out, see what happens. So I'm going to press and hold, and it's throwing the line, as you can see. Well, let's increase the size of that line. It's kind of tiny, hard to see. Let's increase the height. Let's give 5. I think that's more like it. Alright, let's try again. Now we didn't set any properties because I want this to go fast, so I'm gonna press and hold the button, and it's still so tiny. Thickness maybe? Stroke thickness 5. Let's go with 15. Yeah, I think it was stroke thickness. Okay, let's try this now. There you go. Kind of overlaps the button, but you get the idea. Because we are we still on the stack panel? Yes, we are. Let's get a margin. Margin of 0.5. Alright, let's try, actually go with 10 thickness instead of 15. Let's try this out. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's repeat button. Okay, thanks for tuning in. Until the next one. A quick note before I go: check the description for link to the code. So take it easy again.